Hey there, sleepyheads. Welcome back to the channel. Before we drift into tonight's tale of the Archetypes of Ooo, I'd love to know where in the world you are watching from tonight and what time it is for you right now. Drop it in the comments below. It's always magical, seeing how far and wide this sleepy little community reaches. All right, lights low, blankets up. Let's begin. Tonight we gently wander into a land that feels both familiar and strangely distant. A place where whimsy and melancholy walk side by side, and where the edges of reality seem soft, like the hush between one dream and the next. This is Ooo, a world that, at first glance, sparkles with candy-colored hills, singing rivers, and castles that seem to breathe. But beneath the laughter of talking animals and the playful adventures of heroes, there lies a deeper rhythm. A quiet pulse that whispers stories older than we can quite measure. Ooo is not simply a land on a map. It is a reflection, a mirror, a place where the dreams of humanity, the fears and hopes we carry have taken shape. Every rolling hill, every enchanted forest, every crumbling ruin carries memory. In this sense, Ooo is a modern mythology. A living tapestry of lessons and archetypes, stitched together not from parchment and ink, but from imagination and the lingering echoes of a world long past. There is a rhythm here, a breathing pattern of wonder and reflection that invites us to slow down, to notice, and to drift alongside its mysteries. It is tempting to see Ooo simply as a playground for young adventurers, a place where sword fights and magical mishaps entertain and delight. And yet, for those who linger just a little longer, there is a quiet wisdom hidden in the folds of its landscape. Mountains that seem impossibly tall remind us of the trials we carry within ourselves. Rivers that shift in color and song suggest the currents of emotion and thought we sometimes cannot name. The ruins of cities hint at histories we can only imagine, a post-apocalyptic memory that lingers like a soft shadow at the edge of consciousness. In the calm of night, when the world is hushed and the mind begins to float between wakefulness and dreams, Ooo feels almost like a whisper from our own psyche. Each creature and character, each castle and forest is more than it seems. They are reflections, echoes of archetypes we have always known. The hero, the trickster, the creator, the shadow. These roles dance lightly across the stage of Ooo, appearing again and again in forms that are fantastical, playful, and sometimes quietly sorrowful. They are the forms through which stories, ancient and new, find a way to speak to us. To wander through Ooo is to wander through memory and possibility at once. The Candy Kingdom, with its careful structures, its rules, and its careful caretakers, reflects our longing for order and creation. The Nightosphere, dark and enigmatic, stirs the hidden recesses of the self, reminding us of the parts of our psyche that dwell in shadow and quiet reflection. Each forest, mountain and river is not just a place for adventure, but a place where stories fold in upon themselves, layering meaning over whimsy, introspection over spectacle. And yet, Ooo is alive with paradox. It is a place of playful danger and gentle wonder, of laughter and quiet sorrow intertwined. In some ways, it is the perfect dreamscape. It invites us to explore without fear, to learn without pressure, to watch heroes and tricksters, creators and shadows play their parts while we drift alongside, our minds soft and our hearts open. Here time moves strangely. A single day might contain countless adventures, and yet the sense of eternal calm never leaves the air. It is this dreamlike quality that allows us tonight to view Ooo as mythology. Just as ancient stories carried the weight of human experience in symbols and allegory, Adventure Time carries these archetypes through its characters and their journeys. Finn, the eternal hero, strides across the land seeking purpose and understanding. Jake, the trickster, bends the world to laughter and mischief, revealing truths hidden behind his playful facade. Princess Bubblegum, the creator, shapes life and society with care, a quiet reflection of ingenuity and responsibility. Marceline, the shadow, sings songs of memory and longing, reminding us of the hidden depths within ourselves. Even the landscape itself feels like an actor in this ongoing myth. Volcanoes and icy peaks speak to challenges both external and internal. Streams and clouds move with a rhythm that mirrors emotion, almost as though Ooo breathes in tandem with the hearts of those who wander within it. Every color, every sound, every tiny, strange creature is part of a tapestry that invites gentle reflection. It is a mythology not bound by the past, but shaped in the present, shared in whispers and dreams, carrying lessons as softly as a lullaby carries its melody. And so, as we settle in tonight, let us drift into Ooo with care. Let us notice the quiet symmetries in its chaos, the stories hidden in its laughter, the lessons sung by its rivers, and the truths held in the shadows of its forests. Let us wander past the obvious delights, past candy towers and dancing bears into the deeper currents that move beneath, where archetypes wait, patient and enduring, ready to guide us gently through the night and into reflection. Ooo, in its infinite variety, is not just a setting, it is a meditation, a place to consider the eternal rhythms of myth and memory. And within this world, the archetypes that shape our stories, our dreams, and even ourselves begin to emerge. They are quiet, patient, and persistent, waiting for us to notice, to follow, and to understand in our own slow, gentle way. And as we wander further, let us consider the quiet paradox of Ooo. It is at once ancient and new, a place that has survived a cataclysm long ago, yet teems with life as if it were freshly born each morning. The Mushroom War, hinted at in whispers and shadows, left a scar on the land, a memory of endings and beginnings intertwined. And like a dream that folds over itself, Ooo does not dwell in loss. Instead, it transforms the echoes of devastation into stories of possibility. Every ruined castle and shattered city carries the weight of history, yet there is also the soft reassurance that life continues, stubborn and whimsical, in shapes both strange and beautiful. The creatures who inhabit this world carry layers of meaning, even when their intentions seem simple or playful. Talking animals, sentient candy, enigmatic wizards, and wandering spirits each serve as threads in this tapestry of myth. Some of them are guides, others are challengers, and some exist simply to reflect the richness of imagination. But in every case, they mirror parts of ourselves, our desires, our fears, our curiosity, and our capacity for wonder. In the stillness of night, when the mind is ready to drift, these characters take on a gentler, more profound significance. They are not just entertaining companions on adventures. They are reflections, echoes, archetypes, waiting to be understood in the quiet of reflection. Oo's landscapes are equally symbolic. Take the Fire Kingdom, for example, with its intense heat and ever-burning volcanoes. It is a place of passion and danger, yes, but also a reminder of transformation, of the way trials forge character and understanding. Or the Ice Kingdom, frozen and aloof, where isolation can feel endless, yet where the smallest warmth can create wonder. Even the Candy Kingdom, bright and orderly, reminds us that care and creativity can build worlds. Yet responsibility often carries a quiet weight behind the sweetness. In Ooo, geography itself becomes a kind of language, speaking in metaphors that the heart, rather than the mind alone, can hear. And then there is the rhythm of time in Ooo, which does not flow in the straight lines we are accustomed to. Moments stretch and compress like clouds drifting across a wide sky. A single day may hold countless adventures, or a simple walk through a forest might feel like hours of introspection. Time here is pliant, bending gently to the needs of stories and reflection. In this, Ooo mirrors the way we experience dreams, fluid, elastic, and full of hidden connections. It is a world where cause and effect are often secondary to the lessons and experiences we carry within us, where the journey itself matters more than the destination. This dreamlike quality extends even to the skies above Ooo. Stars often shimmer with an almost sentient light, drifting and winking as if aware of those who wander below. The moon can feel both a silent observer and a companion, casting soft illumination on forests, rivers, and mountains alike. Clouds drift lazily, sometimes forming shapes that seem to tell their own quiet stories. And at night, when the air is still and the gentle sounds of Oo's creatures lull the world into calm, the entire landscape feels like a breathing, attentive entity. It is as though Ooo itself is aware of the archetypes that walk its paths and quietly ensures they have the space to unfold. And speaking of archetypes, it is here in the vast, unfolding world of Ooo that we begin to notice the subtle patterns that repeat across stories and generations. The eternal hero, the trickster, the creator, the shadow. These figures are not imposed upon the land from the outside. They arise naturally, emerging from the texture of the world itself, shaped by experience, memory, and the very nature of the environment. They walk among us not only as characters in adventure, but as reflections of the internal landscapes we each carry. Ooo becomes both mirror and teacher, a quiet stage for archetypes to reveal themselves in ways gentle, strange, and deeply resonant. And so, tonight, as we rest under the quiet glow of imagination, we may begin to see Ooo as more than a place for sword fights and magical mishaps. We may begin to sense it as a living, breathing mythology, where every forest and mountain, every river and ruin carries whispers of meaning. Here the stories of heroes and tricksters, creators and shadows, are not merely tales. They are meditations, lullabies woven in light and shadow, guiding the mind into reflection, teaching the heart to notice, and inviting the spirit to drift among timeless patterns. The beauty of Ooo is that it does not demand understanding in haste. Its lessons arrive slowly, like gentle waves brushing a quiet shore. Its archetypes appear when we are ready to notice, sometimes in playful forms, sometimes in whispers of memory, sometimes in moments of silent recognition that linger long after the adventure ends. And as we rest in this calm, we begin to understand that the myth of Ooo is not a story with a final conclusion. It is a continuum, an endless dream that folds upon itself, carrying the eternal hero, the trickster, the creator, and the shadow through landscapes both familiar and strange, inviting us to drift alongside them. In this way, Ooo is a companion for the soul as much as it is a setting for adventure. It teaches without forcing, reflects without judgment, and invites us to notice the archetypal rhythms that shape not only its world, but our own inner worlds as well. Even in its most chaotic corners, there is a subtle, pervasive sense of balance, a quiet order that allows the archetypes to emerge naturally, as if the land itself is breathing in tandem with the stories that unfold upon it. And here, sleepyheads, is where our journey begins in earnest. We have walked through the land, breathed in its dreamlike rhythm, and allowed ourselves to notice the quiet, pulsing presence of myth all around us. Now we will gently shift our attention to one of these archetypes, a figure whose courage and heart guide the story of Ooo, whose adventures teach us about bravery, compassion, and the quiet strength that lives within us all. And as we linger a little longer in the quiet wonder of Ooo, it is impossible not to notice the way its stories, its landscapes, and its inhabitants are infused with a sense of purpose that feels almost subconscious. This is a world that seems to understand itself, that moves with a rhythm not dictated by clocks or calendars, but by the heartbeat of imagination and reflection. Mountains rise like thought forms frozen in stone. Rivers wind like memory streaming softly through the mind, and forests hum with the quiet energy of stories waiting to be told. Even the ruins of cities, remnants of a past age, do not evoke despair. Instead, they speak of resilience, of the way life finds a way to continue quietly, persistently, in forms both unexpected and wondrous. In Ooo, magic and science intertwine seamlessly, creating landscapes that feel both miraculous and natural. The laws of reality bend, yet they do so with logic that resonates beneath the surface. A tree may walk, a candy person may sing, a ghost may linger in memory. These are not mere oddities, but manifestations of the archetypal energy that flows through the world. It is a place where imagination is literal, where dreams shape the environment as surely as rivers carve valleys, and where the stories of heroes, tricksters, creators, and shadows unfold not as abstractions, but as living experiences that invite reflection and gentle wonder. The very air of Ooo feels different, as if it carries the weight of countless tales, soft and whispering, urging the observer to slow down and notice. Even the simplest paths invite contemplation. Walking through a meadow, one might hear the soft murmur of the grass, as though it remembers every footstep that has ever passed. Passing a quiet stream, the water seems to hum, with fragments of conversations, adventures, and music, each ripple a small echo of the archetypal forces that shape the land. There is a softness here, a sense of calm that permeates even the most chaotic moments, inviting those who wander to pause, breathe, and drift. It is in this gentle rhythm that Ooo becomes truly mythic. Myth is rarely about haste. It is about reflection, repetition, and resonance. And Ooo, in its strange beauty, embodies these qualities perfectly. Every character, every story, every interaction carries a duality. Adventure and contemplation coexist. Joy and sorrow intermingle. Action and stillness flow seamlessly together, like two currents in a quiet river. This balance, subtle yet persistent, allows the archetypes to emerge naturally, guiding the narrative and inviting the mind to wander along their paths as though following a gentle stream. And yet, even as we acknowledge the calm, there is always a hint of mystery lingering at the edges of perception. Ooo is not a world entirely known or mastered. Some forests twist into shapes that seem alive, shifting imperceptibly. Certain mountains hide paths that appear only to those who look carefully, as if the land itself is testing awareness and attention. Even the skies, though often radiant, conceal shadows and glimmers of something greater, suggesting forces beyond comprehension, subtle energies that remind us that myth is not always comforting, but it is always profound. Perhaps this is why the archetypes of Ooo resonate so deeply. They are not imposed from outside. They emerge organically from the landscape, from the history, and from the interactions between characters and world. The eternal hero strides across these lands because the land itself calls for courage. The trickster wanders because there is a playful, chaotic energy that must be balanced. The creator shapes, nurtures, and designs because the world demands ingenuity and care. The shadow lingers in quiet corners, singing and sighing, because every landscape and every story needs reflection, depth, and hidden truth. The interplay of these archetypes is what gives Ooo its enduring magic. It is not merely the presence of heroes or fantastical creatures that captivates. It is the way these roles interact with one another, subtly shaping the environment and the experiences of those who wander through it. The eternal hero is measured against the trickster. The creator tests the boundaries of both, and the shadow reminds us that every story has layers we may not immediately perceive. Through these quiet, continuous interactions, Ooo teaches not only about adventure, but about balance, about the necessity of light and dark, order and chaos, action and reflection. And perhaps this is why Ooo feels so familiar, yet always new. It resonates with the rhythms of human consciousness, echoing dreams, desires, and the archetypal stories embedded deep within us. Each episode, each encounter, each gentle moment of pause is a reflection of patterns we know intuitively. Ooo exists in a space between dream and reality, memory and imagination, inviting those who watch and listen to step lightly, breathe slowly, and notice not just what is happening on the surface, but the deeper currents flowing quietly beneath. So tonight, as we rest under the quiet glow of imagination, we may begin to understand that Ooo is more than a collection of adventures. It is a meditation, a modern mythology that unfolds softly, guiding us toward contemplation. It asks us to wander, to observe, and to reflect without hurry, without judgment. The archetypes walk these lands naturally, quietly, reminding us that stories are not only for entertainment, they are mirrors of our inner lives, whispering lessons, revealing truths, and inviting the mind and heart to drift gently toward understanding. And as we linger a little longer in this quiet reflection, it becomes clear that Oo's true magic lies not just in the adventures that unfold across its landscapes, but in the soft, persistent sense of continuity that binds all its stories together. It is a world shaped by echoes, echoes of the past, whispers of ancient histories, and reflections of experiences that feel both personal and universal. Even the ruins scattered across the land, remnants of a time long before Finn and Jake ever drew their first breath, hum with quiet significance. They remind us that every world carries memory, that every journey is built upon layers of events, choices, and dreams that have come before. Oo's histories are not explained in a rush or demanded in full comprehension. They reveal themselves gently, like fragments of a song remembered in sleep, glimpses of meaning appearing in reflections on a pond or in the twist of a shadow across a sunlit hill. The Mushroom War, though hinted at through scattered ruins and somber storytelling, is less a historical footnote than a reminder of the delicate balance between creation and destruction, between endings and beginnings. Life in Ooo is simultaneously fragile and resilient, playful and profound, a testament to the way stories endure, morph, and find new form across generations. The land itself seems to respond to the emotional and moral currents of its inhabitants. Volcanoes roar not merely with heat, but with the energy of challenge and transformation. Forests sway as if echoing the emotions of those who wander beneath their branches. Rivers carry not only water but memory, singing softly with the collective consciousness of all who have passed. The skies above shift with moods, sometimes bright and playful, sometimes muted and contemplative, casting a soft light that invites careful observation and gentle introspection. In this way, Ooo itself becomes a participant in the myth, a character as alive as any hero, trickster, creator, or shadow. Even the smallest details carry significance. The creatures of Ooo, though often whimsical or humorous at first glance, hold layers of archetypal meaning. Talking candy, floating spectral beings, and magical animals all serve as mirrors, reflecting qualities of curiosity, courage, mischief, and introspection. Each interaction, no matter how fleeting, contributes to a larger pattern, a quiet dance of energy that moves through the land and into the minds of those who observe. And for those willing to notice, the world offers subtle guidance, whispers of understanding that arrive like gentle notes in a lullaby, soft enough to soothe, yet resonant enough to linger. In these gentle, dreamlike layers, the archetypes we will explore begin to take shape. They are not forced upon the narrative, nor are they rigidly defined. Instead, they emerge naturally from the interplay between characters, landscape, and history. The eternal hero walks, not merely to win battles, but to discover courage and compassion. The trickster moves fluidly, reminding us of the playful, unpredictable aspects of life. The creator shapes and nurtures, embodying ingenuity, responsibility, and care. And the shadow, quietly present, teaches through reflection, memory, and depth. Each archetype is inextricably linked to the world of Ooo itself, as if the land conspires to reveal their forms to those who move slowly enough to notice. This intertwining of world and archetype creates a narrative rhythm unlike any other. Ooo does not rush. It does not demand immediate comprehension. Instead, it invites immersion, gentle attention, and quiet wonder. Adventure and reflection coexist seamlessly, and the most profound lessons often emerge not in moments of spectacle, but in soft pauses, a character sitting by a stream, a quiet conversation under starlight, a song sung with tenderness and memory. These are the moments that linger, shaping understanding subtly, like the afterglow of a dream just before waking. And so, as we drift through the landscapes of Ooo tonight, we begin to perceive the world not just as a place of playful adventure, but as a living mythology. Its rivers, forests, mountains, and skies are all part of a larger story, a continuous meditation on life, growth, and reflection. Its inhabitants are more than characters. They are manifestations of archetypes that speak to the very core of our shared human experience. Through them, we learn not only about heroism, mischief, creation, and shadow, but also about balance, harmony, and the quiet ways that stories shape thought, feeling, and imagination. In this gentle space, Ooo becomes a companion for the mind as much as for the heart. It is a world that encourages wandering, reflection, and subtle discovery. It asks nothing of its travelers except patience, awareness, and a willingness to notice. And as we rest here, letting our thoughts drift softly alongside the rivers, mountains, and clouds, we feel the archetypal threads beginning to weave themselves around us. They are soft, patient, and enduring, carrying the quiet promise of lessons yet to be revealed. Tonight we have walked together through the dreamlike contours of Ooo, noticing its rhythms, listening to its whispers, and allowing its quiet wisdom to settle within us. And now, gentle friends, we are ready to meet one of these archetypes in its fullest form, a figure whose courage and heart illuminate the world, and whose journeys will guide us softly, like a lantern through a twilight forest. We are ready to meet the eternal hero. And so, sleepyheads, as we leave behind the quiet, breathing landscapes of Ooo, our attention turns gently toward one figure who strides through this world with purpose and heart. His name is Finn, the boy with boundless curiosity, courage, and a heart that beats in rhythm with the pulse of the land itself. He is the eternal hero, not because he never falters, but because he continues to rise again and again, learning, growing, and venturing into both wonder and danger with open eyes and an open heart. From the moment Finn takes his first steps into adventure, we see the essence of heroism distilled in his very being. He is a boy, yes, but more than a boy. He is a mirror of courage, a quiet echo of those timeless figures we have always carried in myth. Heroes in stories across time often embody strength and resolve, yet what makes Finn particularly compelling is the gentle, imperfect humanity he carries within him. He is brave, but he is also uncertain. He seeks justice, yet he learns empathy. He desires triumph, yet discovers that understanding and compassion often carry more weight than victory. In a world like Ooo, where magic bends the rules of reality and landscapes shift with the rhythm of imagination, Finn's heroism is not measured merely in battles fought or victories claimed. It is measured in the quiet choices, the small gestures, and the moments when he acts not because he is fearless, but because he chooses to act despite fear. Walking through forests that whisper ancient memories, climbing mountains that seem impossibly tall, or entering ruins that hum with the echoes of lost civilizations, Finn embodies the hero archetype in its most enduring and relatable form, persistent, reflective, and heart-driven. Finn's adventures are dreamlike in their unfolding, often straddling the line between whimsy and reflection. A single journey might begin with the excitement of chasing a mischievous creature or saving a friend from peril, and yet, as the story unfolds, it becomes layered with meaning. Through encounters with allies, foes, and strange beings, Finn learns lessons that ripple far beyond the immediate moment. He discovers patience, the value of trust, the cost of pride, and the quiet weight of responsibility. These are not lessons thrust upon him. They emerge organically in the soft spaces between action, in the pauses of contemplation, in the echoes of memory carried in the rivers, forests, and winds of Ooo. And it is here, in these quiet interludes, that the eternal hero archetype truly shines. In myth, heroes are rarely perfect. They stumble, question, and even fail. What makes them enduring is not flawless strength, but the constancy of effort, the willingness to face uncertainty, and the capacity to carry hope even when the path ahead is unclear. Finn mirrors this timeless truth. He sometimes acts impulsively, guided by youthful zeal or a desire to protect. He sometimes struggles with self-doubt, longing for recognition, understanding, or connection. Yet each moment of hesitation, each misstep, is part of the journey, part of the quiet rhythm that defines heroism, not as conquest, but as presence, as engagement, as persistence in the face of the unknown. And just as Ooo is shaped by memory, echo, and reflection, Finn's heroism is entwined with the world around him. The mountains he climbs, the rivers he crosses, the ruins he explores. They do more than provide obstacles or settings. They speak to him, guide him, and challenge him in ways that are subtle, sometimes imperceptible. The wind may carry whispers of forgotten wisdom. The shadows of forests may remind him of choices yet to be made. The stars above, drifting slowly across the night sky, hint at destinies that are not fixed, but responsive to courage, kindness, and insight. In this sense, Finn does not simply traverse Ooo. He converses with it, listens to it, and learns from it, step by step, moment by moment, in a dance as delicate and persistent as the currents of a gentle river. And within this dance, the eternal hero becomes more than a character in adventure. He becomes a reflection of the quiet courage that resides in all of us, a reminder that heroism is not defined by grandiose feats alone, but by the capacity to act with empathy, to face the unknown with openness, and to grow gently through experience. Finn's sword may swing against monsters, but the true battles are often internal. The confrontation with fear, with doubt, with the realization that the world is vast, strange, and sometimes quietly indifferent, yet still full of wonder and possibility. In watching Finn, we notice that his adventures often mirror the classic patterns of myth. There is the call to adventure, The journey through unfamiliar and challenging landscapes, the encounter with allies and antagonists, the moment of crisis, and the eventual return or transformation. And yet, unlike some heroes of legend, Finn's journeys are not always linear, not always conclusive. They are fluid, reflective, dreamlike. Each episode, each challenge, each quiet moment carries resonance beyond its immediate narrative, echoing in the heart and imagination of the observer, inviting contemplation rather than conclusion, understanding rather than spectacle. As we linger in the presence of Finn, we begin to notice the quiet ways in which his heroism is shaped not only by the challenges he faces, but by the companions who walk beside him. Jake, the loyal and playful Trickster, is more than just a friend. He is a mirror and a guide, reminding Finn that the world is as much about joy, flexibility, and mischief as it is about duty and bravery. Their bond is not simply one of companionship. It is a dance of balance. Where Finn rushes with earnest intent, Jake may bend the rules, revealing hidden possibilities and the subtle lessons in laughter. And through this interplay, Finn learns that courage is not only about facing danger, but about understanding, patience, and the gentle art of seeing the world from multiple perspectives. Finn's relationships extend beyond his closest companion. Princess Bubblegum, the creator, provides another lens through which his heroism is both tested and refined. In her presence, Finn encounters intellect, responsibility, and moral complexity. Her world is one of careful planning, ethical consideration, and quiet ingenuity, and Finn's adventures alongside her often require not only bravery but discernment. He must navigate the tensions between impulse and thoughtfulness, between action and reflection, learning that heroism is most profound when tempered by understanding and empathy. The interactions between Finn and PB reveal the subtle ways in which the eternal hero archetype does not operate in isolation. It thrives, grows, and learns in relation to others, mirroring the way stories in myth often unfold through relationships, trials, and cooperative struggle. And then there is Marceline, the shadow, whose presence brings Finn into contact with the parts of himself that he might not always recognize. She is music, memory, and reflection, a reminder that even the bravest hero carries doubt, fear, and sorrow. Through encounters with her, Finn glimpses the deeper currents of emotion and experience that shape his choices, the unseen forces that influence courage, compassion, and understanding. The shadow is not an enemy, but a teacher, a subtle guide whose lessons arrive quietly, often in the form of introspection or emotional resonance, encouraging Finn to see beyond immediate action and consider the broader patterns of consequence and growth. In Ooo, Finn's heroism is also intimately connected to the landscapes he traverses. Each adventure is more than a series of obstacles. It is a journey into the symbolic fabric of the world itself. The Ice Kingdom challenges him with isolation and patience. The Fire Kingdom tests his resolve and capacity for understanding passion and danger. And the forests, rivers, and ruins he wanders through speak to memory, reflection, and the quiet wisdom of nature. In navigating these places, Finn learns not only how to act, but how to perceive, how to listen, and how to respond with thoughtfulness as well as courage. The eternal hero in this is as much a student of the world as he is its protector, moving through the mythic landscape with eyes open to both wonder and lesson. And yet, despite the trials, the lessons, and the moral complexities, Finn's heroism carries a soft, enduring light. He is a figure of hope, not because he is invincible, but because he persists. He embodies the idea that heroism is not a fixed destination, but a continuous journey of heart, curiosity, and choice. Even when faced with fear, uncertainty, or the temptation to turn away, Finn continues, driven by empathy, courage, and the quiet belief that his actions, however small, can ripple outward into the lives of others. This is what makes him eternal, not immortality in the literal sense, but an enduring reflection of the heroic spirit in all its human, imperfect, and beautifully persistent forms. In Finn, we see the archetype of the hero as a companion for reflection, a guide through the winding, dreamlike corridors of challenge and discovery. His story is less about final victories and more about the ongoing rhythm of growth, learning, and gentle courage, teaching us that the truest measure of a hero is not conquest, but the willingness to walk the path again and again with an open heart. And in these quiet, reflective moments, as we drift alongside him, through forests, across mountains, and into the echoes of ruins, we begin to notice that Finn's adventures are mirrors for our own inner journeys. Each challenge he faces, each choice he makes, and each encounter he experiences holds a whisper of universal truth. Courage, empathy, patience, understanding, these are the gifts he offers quietly in ways that resonate long after the immediate story has passed, shaping the imagination and the heart of those who follow him through the dreamlike world of Ooo. As we drift further alongside Finn through the soft, undulating landscapes of Ooo, we begin to notice that his heroism is defined not only by the actions he takes, but by the quiet choices he makes in the spaces between adventure and reflection. The eternal hero archetype is as much about restraint as it is about action, as much about listening and observing as it is about confronting danger. In Ooo, Finn's courage manifests in subtle ways: a willingness to comfort a frightened creature, a choice to forgive when anger tempts him, a decision to explore unknown lands despite uncertainty. These are acts that ripple gently through the world, shaping not only his story, but the experiences of those who walk beside him, and even the world itself, which seems to respond to his heart. In myth, the hero often embodies duality, strength tempered by vulnerability, action balanced with reflection. Finn captures this perfectly. He swings his sword with precision when necessary, and yet he also sits quietly under starlight, contemplating the choices he has made, the friends he has helped, and the lessons he has yet to learn. There is no rush in his heroism. It is measured, persistent, and deeply human. Even in moments of triumph, there is humility, a recognition that the world is vast, complex, and rarely governed by simple rules. The eternal hero does not conquer because he must dominate. He moves forward because he understands that courage, compassion, and understanding are the forces that truly shape the story. One of the most delicate aspects of Finn's journey is the way he navigates moral ambiguity. In Ooo, decisions are rarely clear-cut. Saving a friend may lead to unforeseen consequences. Confronting a villain may reveal hidden truths, and acts of heroism may carry unexpected costs. Finn's choices reflect the layered complexity of life itself. He learns often slowly that heroism is not simply about right and wrong, but about perception, empathy, and the ability to weigh action against consequence with care. These lessons are rarely delivered through spectacle alone. They emerge gently, through quiet reflection, the soft guidance of companions, or the subtle whispers of the land itself. And yet, despite the weight of responsibility, Finn's heart remains open, curious, and playful. The eternal hero is not cold or detached. He laughs, wonders, and delights in the strange beauty of Ooo. His bravery is not stoic, but warm and inviting, a beacon that draws others toward kindness and courage. In this, Finn's heroism becomes relatable, intimate, and profoundly comforting. He teaches us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face uncertainty with heart and intention. That even in a world as vast and unpredictable as Ooo, one can move forward with gentleness, empathy, and unwavering curiosity. The way Finn interacts with Oo's magic further deepens his role as the eternal hero. Magic in this world is unpredictable, playful, and sometimes unsettling. Yet Finn engages with it not as a master of power, but as a participant in a delicate dance. He learns to respect forces beyond comprehension, to observe without interference when necessary, and to act with a careful intention when guidance or intervention is required. In doing so, he exemplifies the way the true hero operates within the flow of the world rather than against it, harmonizing action and awareness, courage and contemplation, strength and humility. And his relationships with other archetypes only enhance this gentle heroism. Jake, the Trickster, challenges Finn to see beyond the obvious, to embrace flexibility, humor, and perspective. Princess Bubblegum, the Creator, invites him to navigate responsibility, ethics, and innovation with thoughtfulness and care. Marceline, the Shadow, reminds him of the inner depths of emotion, memory, and reflection that must be acknowledged for true growth. Each connection, each encounter, softens and sharpens his heroism simultaneously, creating a rhythm that is as much about learning and understanding as it is about action. Through all of this, we begin to see that Finn embodies the eternal aspect of the hero, not in endless victories, but in his enduring presence, his capacity to adapt, to learn, and to persist. His journeys are not about reaching a final destination. They are about the ongoing process of becoming, of moving through challenge, joy, sorrow, and discovery with heart and awareness. The boy who wields a sword is also the boy who listens to the wind, who pauses to comfort, who reflects under the quiet gaze of stars. And it is in these small, deliberate acts that his archetype resonates most deeply, teaching that heroism is not spectacle, but the gentle, persistent engagement with life itself. And so, as we drift through these forests, rivers, and hills beside Finn tonight, we notice that the eternal hero is not a distant, unreachable figure. He is a companion for reflection, a gentle guide through both the landscapes of Ooo and the landscapes of our own inner worlds. Through courage tempered with empathy, through curiosity balanced with awareness, through action grounded in reflection, Finn embodies a mythic pattern that is echoed through stories for generations. The adventures he undertakes, and the choices he makes, and the relationships he nurtures are all part of the soft, quiet teaching of what it means to be human, courageous, and alive within a vast, mysterious world. And as we drift ever closer to the heart of Finn's story, we begin to notice the delicate interplay of light and shadow within his heroism. The eternal hero is not flawless, and Ooo, in its dreamlike complexity, ensures that he is tested in ways that reveal both strength and vulnerability. Finn faces moments of doubt, fear, and uncertainty, and it is in these moments, often quiet and unspoken, that the depth of his courage truly emerges. The boy who runs toward adventure also hesitates, questions, and reflects, reminding us that heroism is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to continue despite it. In some episodes, Finn confronts challenges that are not physical, but moral, emotional, or philosophical. He faces enemies who force him to question his values, friends who reveal the limits of understanding, and situations where the right path is unclear. These are the moments when the eternal hero archetype is most evident. The ability to navigate complexity with patience and empathy, to act with integrity even when the outcome is uncertain, and to learn quietly and persistently from every encounter. In the soft spaces between battles and triumphs, Finn grows, reflecting the slow, enduring rhythm of mythic heroism. The dreamlike quality of Finn's journey is further enhanced by the surreal landscapes of Ooo. He moves through forests where trees bend and whisper, across mountains that seem impossibly vast, and into ruins that hum with echoes of forgotten civilizations. These spaces are not just backdrops for adventure. They are active participants in the story, shaping Finn's experiences and inviting him to perceive the world with care and attentiveness. The rivers and streams, the clouds drifting lazily across the sky, the subtle shifting of light and shadow. All of these elements contribute to the quiet reflection that frames his heroism. Each step he takes is both literal and symbolic, a movement through space that mirrors an inner journey toward understanding, courage, and empathy. And within this interplay between self and world, Finn's relationships continue to illuminate his path. Jake's playful mischief teaches flexibility and joy, reminding him that life is not only about duty or courage, but also about perception, humor, and adaptability. Princess Bubblegum's careful thought and moral deliberation challenge Finn to consider consequence and responsibility, demonstrating that heroism is as much about wisdom as it is about bravery. Marceline's presence, reflective and introspective, encourages Finn to acknowledge emotion, memory, and the shadowed aspects of experience, showing that understanding darkness is necessary for true balance. These relationships shape his journey, not through force, but through gentle guidance, reflection, and shared experience, emphasizing the interconnectedness of heroism with the world and the people within it. In Ooo, the eternal hero also encounters moments of solitude that are as instructive as any battle or triumph. Walking alone through moonlit forests or across silent ruins, Finn contemplates his place in the world, the lessons he has learned, and the choices that lie ahead. These quiet moments are a reminder that heroism is deeply personal, rooted not only in action but in awareness. Even when surrounded by friends, allies, or mentors, Finn's growth depends on his ability to reflect, to listen to the whispers of Ooo, and to respond thoughtfully rather than impulsively. It is in these moments that the archetype is most palpable, inviting those who observe to consider their own journeys of courage, reflection, and persistence. And yet, even as he faces uncertainty and solitude, Finn's courage remains warm, inviting, and human. He embodies hope not as a distant ideal, but as a presence in every small act of kindness, bravery, and empathy. The eternal hero teaches that strength is measured not solely in victories, but in the persistence of heart, the willingness to engage with the unknown, and the quiet resilience that allows one to continue striving, learning, and growing. Through his journey, we see that heroism is not about perfection, but about presence, being fully engaged in the flow of life, attentive to its rhythms, and responsive to the needs of others while honoring one's own growth. Finn's story, soft and dreamlike, carries echoes of timeless myth, the call to adventure, the confrontation with challenge, the guidance of companions, the encounter with shadow, and the return with insight. All of these elements resonate as patterns we recognize across stories, cultures, and dreams. And yet, Adventure Time softens these patterns, infusing them with whimsy, reflection, and intimacy. The eternal hero is not a distant figure. He is approachable, imperfect, and profoundly human. He moves through the surreal and the magical, teaching that courage, empathy, and persistence are not grand ideals, but living, breathing qualities we can cultivate quietly, step by step, in the landscapes of our own lives. And so, sleepyheads, as we pause alongside Finn tonight, we see that the eternal hero is more than a character in adventure. He is a mirror for the courage within ourselves, a guide through the shifting landscapes of challenge, reflection, and growth. He reminds us that the most profound heroism is gentle, persistent, and reflective, that it is measured in patience, empathy, and the quiet willingness to act with heart. And in the soft light of Ooo, amidst forests, rivers, and starlit skies, Finn continues to walk eternally, teaching us to move forward with care, curiosity, and courage, even when the path is uncertain. And now, sleepyheads, as we move gently through the dreamlike world of Ooo, our attention drifts to a figure whose presence bends the rules of reality, humor, and perception. Jake, the magical dog with the gift of stretch and shape, embodies the trickster archetype in its most playful and profound form. He is both companion and guide, teacher and mirror, reminding us that the flow of life is rarely linear, and that the unexpected often carries wisdom disguised as whimsy. While Finn strides as the eternal hero, Jake drifts, stretches, and weaves, showing that flexibility, insight, and curiosity are as essential to navigating the mysteries of Ooo as courage and strength. The trickster in mythology often exists to disrupt, to challenge, and to illuminate hidden truths. And in Jake, this archetype is present not as chaos for its own sake, but as gentle provocation. He teases, bends the laws of physics, and shifts shapes in ways that surprise, delight, or confound. Yet beneath every playful act lies subtle wisdom. The trickster teaches adaptability, creativity, and perspective, reminding both Finn and the audience that there is more than one way to approach a problem. The world, as Jake shows us, is malleable, full of hidden possibilities, and deeply responsive to imagination, humor, and insight. Jake's relationship with Finn is central to understanding his role. Together, they form a dynamic balance. Finn moves with purpose, heart, and courage, while Jake moves with instinct, humor, and flexibility. Where Finn faces the world head-on, Jake often approaches it obliquely, bending shapes, stretching boundaries, and revealing angles of thought that might otherwise remain hidden. Their adventures together are a dance of intention and improvisation. Through Jake, we see that heroism is not only about steadfastness, but also about perspective, about the ability to move fluidly through uncertainty and to find humor and insight even in the most serious circumstances. And yet Jake's trickster energy is not limited to playful mischief. It extends into subtle wisdom about life, friendship, and perception. He notices patterns that others might miss, offers guidance in unexpected forms, and acts as a gentle mediator between chaos and order. The trickster archetype, in its deepest sense, is about transformation, turning limitation into possibility, challenge into opportunity, and confusion into insight. Jake embodies this fully, reminding us that the world of Ooo, like the inner landscapes of our own minds, is fluid, changeable, and full of hidden potential for growth and understanding. Magic is central to Jake's trickster nature. His shape-shifting ability allows him to stretch, compress, and reimagine the world itself. Mountains become bridges, rivers become slides, and even the simplest landscape can become a canvas for exploration. This flexibility is more than a power, it is a philosophy. Through Jake, we learn that adaptability is a form of intelligence, that perception is as powerful as force, and that the ability to see beyond the obvious often reveals solutions that courage alone cannot provide. The trickster teaches that the boundaries of possibility are often illusions, waiting to be stretched, reshaped, and reimagined. And in quiet moments, Jake's humor carries gentle reflection. He tells stories, plays music, and jokes not to distract from reality, but to illuminate it. Laughter in Ooo is not frivolous, it is connective, reflective, and healing. The trickster reminds us that lightness and playfulness are essential for navigating both adventure and the complexities of life. By finding joy in the strange, the unexpected, and the absurd, Jake teaches that the heart can remain open, the mind flexible, and the spirit resilient, even in the face of uncertainty, danger, or shadow. Jake's presence also reveals the softer side of the trickster archetype, loyalty and care. Despite his playful nature, he is steadfast in his protection of Finn and those he loves. Mischief may guide his methods, but the motivation is always rooted in empathy and connection. The trickster is not merely a solitary figure of chaos. He is relational, deeply aware of how his actions ripple through the lives of others. Through Jake, we see that humor, insight, and adaptability are most powerful when paired with kindness and responsibility, when the energy of disruption is harnessed for growth, understanding, and connection. And as we watch Jake move through the dreamlike contours of Ooo, stretching across mountains, slipping through forests, and bending shapes in impossible ways, we begin to understand that the trickster archetype is not a secondary character in myth. He is an essential force, a reminder that perception, creativity, and play are as vital as courage and determination. Without the trickster, the world of Ooo would be rigid, linear, and constrained. With him, it becomes alive, pliable, and endlessly surprising, inviting reflection, engagement, and gentle wonder at the endless possibilities contained within a world as vast and strange as Ooo. And perhaps the most profound lesson of Jake's trickster nature is that life itself is a form of playful improvisation. While Finn teaches courage and steadfastness, Jake teaches flexibility and perspective. Together, they reveal that heroism is not a single path, but a weaving of intention, adaptability, and insight. The trickster reminds us that while it is important to act, it is equally important to observe, to bend with the currents of life, and to recognize that the world is rarely as fixed as it appears. As we wander deeper into the rhythm of Jake's presence, sleepyheads, we notice that his role as the trickster extends far beyond playful antics or magical transformations. He embodies the subtle wisdom of unpredictability, the understanding that life is rarely linear, and that the paths we follow are often best approached with curiosity, flexibility, and a light heart. In Ooo, where magic, memory, and chaos intertwine, Jake demonstrates that perspective is as vital as courage, and that humor is often the lens through which the deepest truths can be glimpsed. Jake's interactions with the world are reflective as much as they are reactive. He notices details others might overlook, from the smallest patterns in nature to the quirks of those he loves. He bends not only shapes, but perception itself, reminding us that understanding often requires stepping outside of conventional thought, and that the most meaningful lessons can be delivered in forms that seem simple or playful at first glance. His laughter, his music, and his jokes are more than amusement. They are invitations to see differently, to approach challenges with creativity, and to remain open to the unexpected currents of experience. And in his relationship with Finn, Jake's trickster nature becomes a guiding force. He teaches by example, not by lecturing or directing. He stretches reality, shapes outcomes, and navigates uncertainty in ways that allow Finn to learn courage, empathy, and flexibility organically. Where Finn's heroism is grounded in steadfastness and determination, Jake's is fluid, improvisational, and intuitive. Together they form a balance of action and perception, intention and improvisation, courage and insight. The eternal hero and the trickster are distinct, yet inseparable, weaving a narrative rhythm that mirrors the duality of life itself, where structure and spontaneity coexist, guiding the unfolding of story and self. The trickster's lessons are often subtle, appearing in moments of quiet reflection as well as in the midst of chaos. Jake demonstrates that disruption is not inherently negative, but a natural part of growth and understanding. When a situation seems fixed, He shows that it can be bent, reshaped, or reimagined. When fear or rigidity threatens progress, he offers humor, insight, or an unexpected solution. In these ways, the trickster archetype encourages us to cultivate patience, creativity, and resilience. It teaches that life's mysteries are often best approached with openness and adaptability, and that flexibility of mind and heart can transform uncertainty into possibility. Jake also embodies the paradoxical nature of the trickster. He is both wise and naive, playful and profound, carefree and deeply responsible. This duality is essential to his archetype, reflecting the way mythic tricksters teach through contradiction and surprise. In his playful stretching and shape-shifting, we see literal representations of the elasticity of thought, perception, and morality. And in his quieter moments of loyalty, guidance, and empathy, we recognize that even the most seemingly chaotic figure can carry profound depth and care. The trickster is never simple. He exists in layers, reminding us that life, like Ooo itself, is multifaceted, dynamic, and endlessly fascinating. And while Jake often moves in whimsical, improvisational ways, there is a soft constancy underlying his actions. He is a companion, a mentor, and a moral compass of sorts, though one that operates through example rather than prescription. His playful wisdom teaches patience, observation, and adaptability, reminding us that even in uncertainty, humor and insight provide guidance. The trickster shows that laughter can illuminate truth, that curiosity can reveal hidden paths, and that flexibility of thought can transform challenges into discovery. Through these lessons, Jake gently guides both Finn and the audience toward a more expansive understanding of heroism, magic, and perception. He reminds us that courage is not only measured by the battles we face, but by the ways we navigate ambiguity, embrace the unexpected, and remain open to discovery. In Ooo, where reality itself is malleable and every adventure carries layers of meaning, Jake demonstrates that wisdom often arrives not in grand proclamations, but in the quiet, playful, and insightful movements of mind and spirit. And so, as we drift through forests, across rivers, and over hills with Jake, we see the trickster archetype unfolding in its full, gentle resonance. He is a reminder that life is flexible, perception is powerful, and humor and creativity are essential companions on any journey. Through his playful guidance, we learn that the unexpected holds lessons, that adaptation is strength, and that joy, curiosity, and imagination are as vital as courage and determination in navigating the dreamlike, ever-shifting world of Ooo. As we drift deeper into the subtleties of Jake's presence, sleepyheads, we notice that the trickster archetype is as much about moral ambiguity as it is about playfulness. Jake teaches that the world is rarely strictly right or wrong, and that understanding emerges when we embrace complexity with curiosity and reflection. Sometimes his actions seem mischievous or even irresponsible, yet beneath every jest or detour lies a soft, guiding wisdom. The trickster reminds us that life is a dance between order and chaos, between intention and improvisation, and that flexibility of thought and action allows us to navigate this balance with grace. Jake's moral guidance is often indirect. He does not lecture or impose rules. Instead, he bends, stretches, and twists the fabric of Ooo itself, creating situations that reveal insights organically. A playful joke may reveal hidden truth. A spontaneous, shape-shifting act may show a new path. Even moments of levity, seemingly inconsequential, carry the weight of subtle teaching. In this way, the trickster embodies the quiet, patient unfolding of wisdom, demonstrating that lessons in life and myth often arrive softly, almost imperceptibly, rather than through direct instruction. The dreamlike quality of Jake's influence is enhanced by the fluidity of his magic. He can stretch across vast distances in an instant, morph into objects or creatures that challenge perception, and navigate impossible terrains with ease. This literal flexibility mirrors the deeper archetypal lesson that perception, imagination, and adaptability are as essential as strength or courage. In Ooo, where reality itself can twist and bend, Jake embodies the principle that engagement with the world requires elasticity of mind and heart. He reminds us that rigid thinking may trap us, while openness, humor, and creativity open doors to solutions and understanding previously unseen. And yet, even amidst playful disruption, Jake is deeply connected to those around him. His trickster energy is relational. He supports, protects, and guides Finn, not as a subordinate, but as an essential counterpart. He mirrors Finn's courage, softening it with humor and reflection, showing that heroism is enriched by flexibility and perspective. Beyond Finn, Jake's interactions with other inhabitants of Ooo reveal an acute awareness of consequence, a subtle navigation of relationships, and a gentle, almost invisible moral compass. The trickster does not impose, yet he influences, demonstrating that true wisdom often works quietly through example, invitation, and playful provocation. Jake's role also highlights the balance between freedom and responsibility. While he stretches the rules of reality and embraces whimsy, he does so within a framework of care. His magic and mischief are never purely selfish. They are embedded within a larger network of empathy, connection, and understanding. The trickster archetype, as embodied by Jake, teaches that freedom is most meaningful when paired with awareness. That creativity and play are most powerful when tempered by kindness, and that insight often comes from observing the consequences of one's actions with gentle attentiveness. In quiet moments, Jake also offers reflection, reassurance. His soft voice, his casual wisdom, and his music provide grounding amidst the chaos of adventure. The trickster is not only a force of change, but a calming presence that reminds companions to breathe, to pause, and to see the hidden beauty in life's unfolding patterns. In these moments, Jake embodies the archetype's deeper purpose, to reveal that insight and understanding are not always the products of struggle alone, but often emerge through observation, play, and gentle engagement with the world. And as we drift alongside him tonight, we begin to sense that Jake's trickster energy is woven into the very fabric of Ooo. He moves fluidly through forests, rivers, and cities, shaping perception and opening new possibilities. Every stretch, every shapeshift, every playful jest is a soft ripple in the mythic current of the land, teaching that flexibility, humor, and creativity are not just traits of a single character, but essential qualities for navigating the dreamlike, shifting landscape of life itself. The trickster reminds us to remain open, to laugh, to adapt, and to perceive beyond the obvious. Through this gentle lens, we begin to see that Jake's magic is inseparable from his morality, his humor, and his wisdom. The trickster teaches that the unexpected holds insight, that ambiguity is not to be feared, and that life's mysteries often reveal themselves when approached with openness, patience, and a playful heart. And in doing so, he complements the eternal hero, balancing courage with creativity, action with reflection, and strength with flexibility. And so, sleepyheads, as we follow Jake's winding, fluid path through Ooo, we see the trickster archetype in its full, gentle resonance. He bends, stretches, and reshapes the world, not for chaos alone, but to illuminate perspective, insight, and joy. He teaches that wisdom can be playful, that morality can be nuanced, and that the heart can remain open, flexible, and alive, even amidst the most unpredictable circumstances. In the quiet, dreamlike rhythm of Ooo, Jake reminds us that life is not a rigid path, but a flowing, stretchable journey where observation, humor, and adaptability are just as heroic as courage and determination. And now, sleepyheads, as we settle deeper into the flowing rhythm of Jake's presence, we begin to perceive the full, subtle resonance of the trickster archetype. Jake is not merely a source of humor or a companion in adventure. He is a guide through the unpredictable, a soft navigator of possibility, and a reminder that flexibility, curiosity, and perspective are as essential to life in Ooo as courage and action. His magic, his playfulness, and his gentle wisdom form a quiet triad, teaching that life's lessons often arrive in forms we might least expect, and that understanding emerges most fully when the mind is open and the heart is light. The trickster archetype, in its deepest sense, exists to challenge assumptions and reveal hidden truths. Jake does this not through confrontation or didactic instruction, but through experience and example. He stretches reality itself, creating new possibilities and reshaping perception, encouraging Finn and those around him to reconsider boundaries, expectations, and limitations. In this way, the trickster serves as a reminder that the world is mutable, that problems can often be approached from multiple angles, and that the ordinary can hold extraordinary potential when viewed through the lens of imagination and adaptability. And yet, even amidst play and whimsy, Jake carries a soft, moral gravity. He understands the consequences of action, the subtle echoes of choice, and the ways in which his energy interacts with the lives of others. The trickster teaches that insight is rarely revealed through force alone. Rather, wisdom often comes through gentle guidance, observation, and creative intervention. Jake's ability to act unpredictably, yet responsibly, demonstrates a balance that is both rare and essential. He reminds us that the most profound lessons are often wrapped in laughter, in play, and in the fluidity of engagement with the world. Jake's relationship with Finn illuminates this balance beautifully. While Finn represents courage, persistence, and the pursuit of heroism, Jake exemplifies adaptability, perspective, and playful insight. Together, they form a pattern as old as myth itself, the pairing of steadfastness and flexibility, intention and improvisation, action and observation. In this partnership, we observe the way archetypes interact, harmonize, and enrich each other. The eternal hero's path is illuminated and softened by the trickster, just as the trickster finds purpose and focus in the presence of the hero. Their bond is a quiet testament to the way myth teaches through relationships, reflection, and shared experience. The dreamlike quality of Jake's interventions further emphasizes his archetypal role. Ooo is a world of constant wonder, magic, and shifting possibilities, and Jake moves through it with a fluid, improvisational grace. Forests bend with his laughter, rivers stretch with his curiosity, and even the smallest interactions carry potential for insight. The trickster exists in this flow, showing that adaptability is not passive, but a form of intelligence, a mode of engagement that recognizes the multiplicity of paths and perspectives available in any moment. Jake teaches that understanding the world requires both flexibility and attention, that the unexpected is a teacher, and that humor and creativity are lenses through which profound truths can be discovered. And in the quiet moments, when the chaos of adventure softens and the world of Ooo breathes gently beneath starlight, Jake reveals his softer, more reflective nature. He comforts, advises, and observes, offering subtle guidance to Finn, Marceline, and even Princess Bubblegum. The trickster's wisdom is not loud or imposing. It is gentle, relational, and almost imperceptible. Through his calm attention, playful interventions, and quiet support, Jake embodies the principle that insight often comes softly, in pauses, in gestures, and in the willingness to approach life with curiosity, flexibility, and empathy. Jake also reminds us that the trickster is paradoxical. He is free yet responsible, playful yet profound, whimsical yet deeply aware. He bends rules, stretches boundaries, and challenges expectations, but always with care for the impact of his actions. He demonstrates that life is rarely linear, that morality is nuanced, and that adaptability is a strength as vital as courage. In Ooo, where magic, history, and emotion flow together like rivers, Jake's presence ensures that the world remains alive, responsive, and endlessly full of possibility. Through every stretch, joke, and playful transformation, Jake teaches that the journey itself is as important as any destination. He encourages observation, creativity, and openness, reminding companions and audience alike that life is not a rigid path, but a pliable, unfolding adventure. The trickster guides without force, illuminates without judgment, and transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. In this gentle, dreamlike rhythm, we see that heroism and wisdom are not defined solely by action, but by the heart, the mind, and the ability to embrace life's unexpected currents. And so, sleepyheads, as we drift beside Jake through the flowing, magical landscapes of Ooo, we begin to feel the full resonance of the trickster archetype. He bends, stretches, and reshapes the world not to dominate it, but to reveal hidden patterns, nurture insight, and bring joy, perspective, and connection to every corner of the dreamlike land. The trickster is both guide and companion, teacher and mirror, a quiet reminder that life is flexible, perception is powerful, and that playfulness, creativity, and curiosity are as heroic as courage itself. Our attention turns to a figure whose presence is both luminous and quietly commanding. Princess Bubblegum, the creator, embodies the archetype of intellect, ingenuity, and nurturing vision. She is not merely a ruler or a scientist. She is the embodiment of creation itself, the living expression of thought, transformed into action, imagination, woven into reality. In Ooo, where magic and chaos intermingle, Bubblegum's presence reminds us that order, insight, and intentionality are forces as essential as courage and adaptability, shaping the dreamlike world around her with care and precision. From the first moment we meet her, Princess Bubblegum carries the weight of responsibility with grace. She is endlessly curious, tirelessly inventive, and profoundly aware of the delicate balances that govern her kingdom, her friends, and the land itself. The creator archetype is often defined by the act of shaping, building, and bringing ideas into tangible form, and Bubblegum embodies this fully. Whether she is crafting scientific solutions, constructing technologies, or nurturing the candy people, her creations reflect a mind that seeks harmony, knowledge, and the subtle beauty inherent in structure and design. Yet the creator is not merely an architect of matter, but also an architect of relationships and understanding. Bubblegum's influence extends beyond laboratories and castles into the hearts and minds of those around her. Her care for the candy people is not perfunctory. It is deliberate, thoughtful, and attentive. She observes, listens, and guides, shaping not only objects, but experiences, emotions, and the subtle rhythms of life within her kingdom. This relational creativity is as integral to her archetype as any invention, demonstrating that true creation encompasses both tangible and intangible realms. And in her interactions with Finn, the eternal hero, and Jake, the trickster, we see the delicate interplay of archetypes at work. Bubblegum challenges Finn to consider consequence, ethics, and moral complexity. inviting reflection beyond courage and action. She invites Jake to stretch not only shapes, but understanding, blending imagination with responsibility in subtle, meaningful ways. Through these relationships, the creator archetype reveals that true creativity is not solitary. It thrives in interaction, dialogue, and the mutual shaping of ideas, perspectives, and possibilities. Princess Bubblegum's laboratories and inventions are emblematic of her inner world, meticulous, intricate, and alive with potential. She observes patterns in both science and society, discovering ways to harmonize chaos with order, to translate observation to practical solutions, and to transform abstract ideas into tangible outcomes. The act of creation in her hands is not only functional, but reflective, symbolic, and deeply intertwined with the ethical and emotional landscape of Ooo. Every experiment, every invention, every plan she devises carries not only utility, but the gentle imprint of intention and care. And yet, the creator archetype is never without tension. To build, to shape, and to guide requires both courage and contemplation. Princess Bubblegum navigates moral ambiguity with quiet deliberation, weighing the potential consequences of her actions against the needs of her people, her friends, and the balance of the land. Creation, in its deepest sense, is a form of responsibility, and Bubblegum embodies the paradox of the creator. The impulse to innovate and shape is inseparable from the weight of ethical awareness. Her genius is not only technical, but relational, and she constantly balances freedom, innovation, and care with foresight and reflection. The dreamlike quality of Bubblegum's creativity is evident in the world she shapes. Her inventions, from candy science to protective technologies, blend whimsy with precision, reflecting the magical, mutable nature of Ooo itself. In this way, the creator archetype is not rigid or authoritarian. It is responsive, adaptive, and infused with imagination. Bubblegum's ability to innovate is complemented by her empathy, reminding us that creation is most profound when it honors both function and the lives it touches. The castle, the candy kingdom, and even her smallest experiments are manifestations of this philosophy, a balance of intellect, intuition, and gentle stewardship. And in quieter, reflective moments, Princess Bubblegum reveals the contemplative side of the creator. She considers the ethical ramifications of her actions, the emotional needs of those she serves, and the subtle interplay of cause and effect in a world as intricate and unpredictable as Ooo. Creation, she shows us, is not only about bringing new forms into being, but also about sustaining life, nurturing growth, and fostering understanding. In her quiet attention, we see that the creator archetype is as much about mindfulness and foresight as it is about imagination and innovation. Bubblegum's relationship with Marceline the Shadow further illuminates the depth of the creator archetype. While Bubblegum embodies logic, order, and constructive energy, Marceline embodies intuition, memory, and emotional depth. Their interactions highlight the balance of creation and reflection, intellect and emotion, light and shadow. Through their relationship, we observe that creation is not purely mechanical or rational. It is enriched by empathy, perspective, and the acknowledgement of unseen currents that shape life and choice. The creator, therefore, must not only design, but also attune, weaving wisdom, care, and insight into every act of bringing something new into the world. As we continue to drift alongside Princess Bubblegum, sleepyheads, we begin to perceive how her creativity is inseparable from responsibility. Every decision she makes ripples through Ooo, affecting not only her kingdom, but the lives of her friends and the delicate balance of the world itself. The creator archetype, in its fullest expression, embodies foresight as much as imagination. Bubblegum constructs with intention, aware that every action, no matter how small, carries consequences that extend far beyond immediate perception. Her genius is tempered by empathy, and her creations are never neutral. They are imbued with care, insight, and an understanding of the interconnectedness of life. In her interactions with Finn, Princess Bubblegum illustrates another essential aspect of the creator, teaching and guiding through example. Finn's bravery and moral certainty are complemented by Bubblegum's wisdom and foresight. She challenges him to consider consequences, to think critically about his choices, and to understand the broader implications of heroism beyond immediate action. In this way, the creator archetype nurtures growth in others, shaping not only the physical world, but the minds and hearts of those who move within it. Bubblegum's guidance is gentle yet firm, a reflection of her understanding that creation is as much about shaping character as it is about shaping matter. And Jake, the Trickster, adds another layer to her story. Where Jake bends and stretches reality, Bubblegum observes, measures, and experiments. The interplay between Trickster and Creator is subtle, yet profound. Jake's playful flexibility challenges her assumptions, revealing areas where rigid structure may obscure possibility. Bubblegum's response is not frustration, but adaptive curiosity. She learns, adjusts, and integrates the lessons of unpredictability into her creative processes. In this exchange, we witness the balance of innovation and flexibility, a reminder that creation in a dynamic, magical world requires openness as much as intention. Princess Bubblegum's scientific mind is deeply attuned to patterns, logic, and cause and effect relationships, yet it never loses sight of the human or candy element of her work. The candy people are not merely subjects to her experiments. They are companions whose well-being informs every invention, every decision, and every rule within her kingdom. This dual awareness of structure and empathy defines the creator archetype. True creation is never only functional. It is relational, ethical, and responsive. Bubblegum embodies this principle, demonstrating that the act of building, shaping, and innovating is inseparable from the care one holds for the living world one touches. And yet, even with her brilliance, Princess Bubblegum is aware of imperfection, uncertainty, and moral ambiguity. Some choices require sacrifice, and some solutions are provisional, awaiting refinement, through observation and adjustment. The creator must navigate these tensions, understanding that not every problem has a perfect solution, and that innovation is an iterative, reflective process. Bubblegum's leadership exemplifies this quiet acceptance of imperfection, a recognition that wisdom lies in the ability to adapt, learn, and act thoughtfully within the unpredictable currents of life. In moments of solitude, Bubblegum reflects, experiments, and observes the rhythms of her kingdom and her world. She listens to the soft murmurs of the candy people, studies the subtle patterns of nature, and considers the unseen consequences of her actions. The creator archetype is profoundly attentive, aware that creation is not a single event, but an ongoing process of observation, reflection, and refinement. Through these quiet moments, we see that her genius is not only intellectual, but contemplative, ethical, and emotionally perceptive, a harmonious blending of insight and care that guides every act of creation. And in her interactions with Marceline, Princess Bubblegum encounters the complementary force of the shadow. Marceline's intuition, memory, and emotional depth provide contrast to Bubblegum's logical and structured approach. Through this relationship, we observe that creation is enriched by integration, intellect balanced with empathy, innovation tempered by reflection, and light intertwined with shadow. Bubblegum demonstrates that the creator archetype is not isolated or purely rational. It thrives in the interplay of differing perspectives, in the recognition of unseen influences, and in the willingness to weave complexity into every act of shaping the world. And as we drift further into the quiet brilliance of Princess Bubblegum, Sleepyheads, we begin to see that her creativity is inseparable from her sense of stewardship. She is a builder of worlds not only in the material sense, but also in the moral, social, and emotional realms. The creator archetype, fully realized, carries both the spark of imagination and the weight of responsibility. Bubblegum's genius is inseparable from her care for others. She invents to protect, to sustain, and to nurture, and in doing so she becomes a living bridge between idea and action, between intellect and empathy. Her laboratories, filled with bubbling concoctions and humming machinery, are not merely tools of invention. They are reflections of her mind, spaces where observation, experimentation, and insight flow together in quiet harmony. Each device, each experiment, each carefully constructed model is a testament to her patience, her foresight, and her delicate balance of creativity and responsibility. The creator does not act hastily. She measures, she observes, she refines, aware that every ripple she sets in motion may alter the lives and futures of those around her. In these moments, we see her genius as gentle, deliberate, and profoundly ethical, embodying the soft, dreamlike quality that defines the archetype. And yet, Princess Bubblegum's path is not without moral tension. Creation carries the inevitability of choice, and choice carries consequence. Bubblegum must navigate the delicate intersection of innovation, ethics, and care. Some solutions are temporary, some experiments carry risk, and some actions demand difficult trade-offs. The creator archetype is defined by this negotiation. The interplay between what can be made, what should be made, and what must be measured against the broader tapestry of life. Bubblegum teaches us that true creativity requires awareness, reflection, and the courage to act even amidst uncertainty. Her interactions with Finn, the eternal hero, continue to illuminate her archetype. She challenges him to consider the broader implications of heroism, to weigh courage against consequence, and to understand that bravery alone does not resolve the complex moral landscapes of Ooo. Through these interactions, Bubblegum demonstrates that the creator is a teacher as well as an innovator. She guides without imposing, showing that wisdom often emerges through gentle mentorship, dialogue, and shared reflection rather than command. In this, we see that the act of creation is as much about shaping understanding as it is about shaping reality. And in the playful, unpredictable presence of Jake, the Trickster, Bubblegum finds another dimension to her creativity. Jake stretches reality in ways that challenge assumptions, revealing the flexibility inherent in the world around them. Bubblegum's response is adaptive and thoughtful, integrating lessons from unpredictability into her work and her leadership. The creator and the trickster, in their quiet interplay, demonstrate that creation thrives not in rigidity, but in balance, structure infused with flexibility, intellect informed by insight, innovation guided by empathy. Their interaction is a dance of intention and spontaneity, highlighting that the mythic process of creation is alive, relational, and ongoing. Princess Bubblegum's relationship with Marceline, the shadow, further deepens the resonance of the creator archetype. Marceline embodies memory, emotion, and the unseen currents of experience, while Bubblegum embodies intellect, structure, and intentionality. Together, they show that creation is enriched by contrast, that innovation is illuminated by reflection, and that the act of shaping the world is most profound when intellect and intuition, light and shadow, are integrated. Bubblegum's ability to navigate this interplay demonstrates that the creator archetype is not solitary or unilateral. It thrives in connection, observation, and the willingness to incorporate complexity into every act of making and guiding. And as we drift gently through the Candy Kingdom tonight, observing the quiet hum of invention, the soft light reflecting off laboratories and classrooms, we notice that Princess Bubblegum's influence extends far beyond physical constructions. She creates systems, nurtures understanding, and cultivates growth, weaving her intelligence and empathy into every corner of Ooo. Creation, in this sense, is not a singular act, but a continuous living process. Bubblegum reminds us that to create is to care, to observe, and to engage thoughtfully with both the material and emotional dimensions of life. Her brilliance is matched by her patience, and her curiosity is guided by wisdom. The creator archetype, as embodied by Bubblegum, teaches that innovation is inseparable from responsibility, that intelligence without care can falter, and that true mastery lies in harmonizing insight, empathy, and ethical awareness. In her quiet reflection, her thoughtful experimentation, and her attentive guidance, we see a model of creation that is gentle, profound, and enduring. And so, sleepyheads, as we pause beside Princess Bubblegum tonight, we recognize the soft power of the creator archetype. She teaches that shaping the world requires imagination, intellect, and care. That leadership and creation are intertwined, and that true wisdom is reflected not only in what is made, but in how it nurtures, sustains, and inspires. In the dreamlike, magical expanse of Ooo, Bubblegum's presence is a gentle, luminous guide, reminding us that creation is as much about observation, reflection, and connection as it is about invention, intellect, or vision. As the night deepens over the Candy Kingdom, we begin to see that Princess Bubblegum's story is not simply one of invention and intellect, but of evolution. The creator archetype is never static. It grows, adapts, and transforms alongside the world it shapes. And for Bubblegum, this transformation is both internal and external. There are moments when her creations take on lives of their own, when her desire to nurture and protect becomes entangled with control, and when her understanding of what is best for her people clashes with their capacity for self-direction. These moments of tension are not flaws. They are the mythic trials of creation itself. Every creator must eventually face the realization that creation cannot be owned. It must be released, allowed to grow, to err, to change beyond its maker's will. For Bubblegum, this realization unfolds gently over the course of the series. She learns to trust her people, to allow imperfection, and to understand that her inventions, like her kingdom, are living systems that breathe and evolve. This in itself is a quiet act of wisdom. To relinquish control is one of the greatest lessons of the creator archetype. It is the point at which creation becomes collaboration, and the act of making becomes the act of listening. We can trace this transformation in the subtle ways she engages with her world. Early on, she monitors every detail, ensuring perfection in every molecule of her candy citizens. But later, we see her stepping back, observing rather than dictating, responding rather than preempting. The creator evolves into the mentor, the sustainer. This shift reveals that the ultimate power of creation lies not in endless production, but in the balance between nurturing and allowing. The archetype moves from the forge to the field, from the laboratory to the living, breathing community. And it is in this balance that Bubblegum's mythic resonance becomes truly luminous. In the broader mythology of Ooo, she stands as the counterpart to both chaos and entropy, where the trickster introduces disorder to reveal truth, and the shadow embodies the emotional depths that intellect cannot contain. The creator holds the structure that makes meaning possible. Without Bubblegum's systems, the world would lack coherence. Without her vision, the scattered remnants of the post-apocalyptic world might never have found harmony again. And yet, without the influence of Jake, Marceline, and Finn, her world might have calcified into something rigid, mechanical, and cold. The mythology of Ooo breathes precisely because these archetypes interact, each tempering the other, each illuminating a different truth about what it means to live, to build, and to dream. In many ways, Princess Bubblegum embodies the spirit of modern creation. She is not a distant deity, but a scientist, a leader, and a learner all at once. Her power is rooted in understanding rather than dominance, in empathy rather than detachment. She reminds us that intelligence and compassion must coexist if creation is to sustain life rather than consume it. The creator, in this mythic sense, is both artist and guardian, a being whose light must remain soft enough to nurture growth, yet steady enough to guide through darkness. When we look at her through the lens of myth, Bubblegum becomes something timeless. She echoes Athena, the goddess of wisdom and strategy, Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge and creativity, and even figures like Prometheus, the bringer of fire and innovation. Yet unlike these classical archetypes, Bubblegum's divinity is tempered by humanity. She doubts, she fails, she learns. Her mythic status is grounded in her capacity for reflection and change. This fusion of myth and emotion is what makes the world of Ooo feel so intimate. Its gods are fallible, its heroes uncertain, its creators vulnerable and real. In her quieter moments, when the machinery hums softly in the background and the night glows with the faint light of bioluminescent candy flora, Princess Bubblegum's presence feels almost maternal. She is the keeper of order and the protector of potential, guiding Ooo toward balance while continually re-examining her place within it. Her laboratories become cathedrals of thought, her inventions hymns to the delicate harmony of mind and matter. In this space, the archetype of the creator transcends narrative. It becomes meditative, a state of awareness where curiosity, care, and humility meet. And perhaps that is where her truest strength lies, not in her inventions, but in her capacity to wonder, to look at the world, not as something to dominate or perfect, but as something to understand, to nurture, to share. Creation, in Bubblegum's hands, is an act of love as much as intellect. It is the gentle reminder that knowledge without kindness is hollow, and that imagination without empathy loses its light. As the dream of Ooo unfolds around her, she stands as its architect and caretaker, shaping its rhythms while listening to its pulse. The creator archetype, as she embodies it, becomes an eternal process, a dialogue between invention and compassion, between making and letting be. Through Princess Bubblegum, Adventure Time reminds us that to create is not to control, but to participate in the ongoing evolution of the world itself. So as we drift away from the glowing towers of the Candy Kingdom tonight, let's carry with us the quiet wisdom of the Creator, the understanding that imagination, when joined with empathy, can mend even the most fractured of worlds, that every act of creation, no matter how small, carries within it the potential for renewal, and that in the dreamlike landscape of Ooo, Princess Bubblegum's light continues to guide not only her kingdom, but us, the dreamers who wander these stories, toward our own capacity to build, to care, and to imagine gently. The night feels a little different now, doesn't it? Quieter, a touch deeper, as if the world itself has leaned in to listen. Tonight we drift into the story of Marceline the Vampire Queen, the shadow of Ooo. Every myth, no matter how bright, carries a darker reflection, a space of memory, longing, and truth that hides just beneath the light. Marceline is that reflection, the part of the world that remembers what has been lost, that sings softly about the ache of time. Where Finn embodies the eternal hero, and Bubblegum, the mind of creation, Marceline lives in the heart of memory. She is not the destroyer, not truly. She is the reminder, the echo, the part of the myth that ensures nothing ever disappears completely, even when it fades. In the ancient language of storytelling, she would be the shadow, the archetype that dwells in twilight, guiding the hero through confrontation with fear, grief, and self-acceptance. To understand Marceline is to understand the emotional landscape of Ooo itself. The world may be full of color and laughter, but it was born from ruin. The Mushroom War left scars across time, transforming the earth into something strange and alive, filled with magic and mutation. Marceline carries that history within her. She is one of the oldest beings in this world, a bridge between what was and what has become. Her memories reach into the past, touching the crumbling remnants of humanity and stretching forward into the sweetness and absurdity of the present. Her story begins with loneliness, a small child surviving in a shattered world, guided by a father who feeds on souls. It is in this origin that her archetype takes shape. The shadow often emerges from abandonment, from the forgotten corners of a story. Marceline's vampirism, her eternal life or hunger, is both a curse and a preservation. It allows her to endure when all else fades, but it also isolates her. Immortality in her world is not glory. It is quiet endurance, watching the world shift and grow and forget. The songs she sings are lullabies of memory. They are not about victory or power, but about love and loss, about missing the warmth of things that time cannot return. In every note of her bass, there is a kind of stillness that belongs to the night. Through her music, she transforms sorrow into beauty and emptiness into connection. That is the power of the shadow. It does not destroy light. It deepens it, giving it contrast and meaning. In the mythology of Ooo, Marceline's relationships illuminate her role as the emotional core. With Finn, she is the older spirit who has seen what he cannot yet understand. With Princess Bubblegum, she shares a history that is complex, layered with affection, frustration, and reconciliation. Their bond reflects an archetypal dance between shadow and creator, between feeling and thought, chaos and order, heart and mind. When they finally find balance together, it is as if the myth itself heals. Creation and shadow no longer stand opposed. They become interwoven, each necessary to the other's wholeness. Marceline's duality, her playfulness and melancholy, captures the essence of the shadow's role in myth. She is a creature of contradiction, ancient yet youthful, feared yet beloved, wild yet gentle. Through her, the show explores the truth that darkness is not the enemy of light, but its companion. Without shadow, light has no shape. Without grief, love has no depth. The shadow archetype teaches that acceptance of the whole self, both the luminous and the broken, is the only way to become complete. When Marceline wanders through the wilds of Ooo, her presence changes the space around her. The night grows quieter, more introspective. She brings stillness to the chaos, a reminder that not everything must be bright to be alive. In mythic language, this is the realm of descent, the inward journey, where heroes confront their fears and discover truths hidden in darkness. Marceline lives in that descent. She is its guardian and its guide, showing others that the path through shadow is not to fight it, but to listen. And when she listens, to her own heart, to the memories of her mother, to the lingering voice of her father, we sense the story of Ooo breathing beneath the surface. The past is not gone. It lingers in her music, in her silences, in the soft ache of her eyes when she remembers what the world once was. Through Marceline, the myth of Adventure Time acknowledges its roots in loss. Yet it also reveals the beauty in remembering. The shadow, after all, does not merely hold pain. It holds the fragments of love that time cannot erase. Marceline's songs drift through the air of Ooo like fragments of dreams. They carry both comfort and sorrow, reminding every listener of something half-remembered and tender. Her music is her mythology, written not in sacred texts or royal decrees, but in melody and feeling. Through her songs, we hear the truth of the shadow, that the heart can be a place of infinite depth, where pain and beauty coexist like moonlight on still water. Each note she plays becomes a form of remembrance, holding space for the people and moments that have slipped away. There's something sacred in the way Marceline uses her voice. It isn't grand or commanding. It's gentle, sometimes trembling, as though she's whispering directly into the soul of whoever is listening. In her quiet honesty, she reaches places that words alone cannot touch. This is the shadow's gift, transforming silence into understanding, vulnerability into strength. Her music doesn't banish sadness. It invites it to stay a while, to breathe, to become part of something beautiful. When we look closely, we see that Marceline is not defined by darkness, but by intimacy. She has lived so long that she has witnessed countless transformations of the world. She has watched empires rise and crumble, magic fade and return, and people she loved vanish like candlelight in the dawn. Yet through it all, she never stops caring. Her heart remains open, even when it aches. That is perhaps her most powerful act of defiance, to keep feeling. In mythology, the shadow who continues to love becomes the guardian of compassion. She teaches that the purpose of darkness is not to harden us, but to soften us toward what we fear. Marceline's relationships serve as mirrors through which we see her evolution. Her father, Hunson Abadir, represents the untamed side of power, the devourer, the force that consumes. In facing him, Marceline faces the primal aspect of her own nature. She cannot destroy it, nor can she fully deny it. Instead, she learns to live alongside it, acknowledging its place without letting it define her. This acceptance of the inner darkness, of the hunger, the grief, the shadowy inheritance, is a central motif in myths across the ages. The hero slays monsters, but the shadow learns to live with them. With Princess Bubblegum, Marceline finds a reflection of her own duality. Bubblegum represents intellect, logic, and order, while Marceline embodies emotion, chaos, and intuition. For a long time they clash, not because they are opposites, but because they complete one another. Their journey mirrors the reconciliation of two halves of the same whole. The creator learns from the shadow, and the shadow learns from the creator. Through love, their conflict transforms into harmony, and the myth grows richer for it. Together, they embody the union of mind and heart, light and night, a cosmic equilibrium. There's a tenderness in their story that feels eternal, as though they are archetypes drawn from the same cosmic origin. Bubblegum seeks control to protect. Marceline seeks release to heal. Both paths lead to understanding. And when they finally come to rest beside one another, their shared history no longer feels like a wound, but a song that has found its resolution. In that moment, we glimpse what the myth of Ooo truly represents. Not a battle between good and evil, but a dance between forces learning how to coexist. In the quiet spaces of the show, Marceline often appears alone, perched in the glow of twilight, strumming her bass with eyes half closed. These moments of stillness are portals into something larger than story. They remind us of the spaces between words, the pauses between breaths, the silences that make music whole. In many myths, the shadow dwells in caves, forests, or forgotten ruins. In Ooo, she lives within music itself. Her songs are her cave walls, painted not with symbols, but with emotion. And in those emotional landscapes, we can feel the pulse of the old world. Marceline has known humanity. She has seen its final moments and its rebirth in forms of candy, flame, and slime. She holds within her memory the bridge between eras, of being both witness and participant. To the people of Ooo, she may seem timeless, mysterious, or even eerie, but beneath that timelessness lies something profoundly human, the need to remember and the fear of being forgotten. When she plays, she calls out not to the living alone, but to the echoes of everything that once was. It's as if she's singing to the ghosts of the world itself. And through her song, the past does not vanish. It drifts, gently alive, in the air between the stars. In that space, the myth of Marceline becomes universal. Every listener, no matter where they are, can find a part of themselves in her melody, the part that has loved, lost, and learned to keep loving anyway. As we drift further into Marceline's night, her essence begins to reveal a deeper truth about the world of Ooo. She is not only a single being moving through the centuries, she is the vessel of memory itself. The shadow archetype, in its purest form, is not meant to frighten or punish, but to remember what the light forgets. When the Candy Kingdom thrives in order and brightness, when Finn races off to new adventures, when Jake laughs through another day of ease, Marceline remains quietly aware of the echoes beneath it all. She feels the pulse of old pain that hums under every rebuilt city, the whispers of what was lost when the world turned strange. Her existence holds the continuity that the rest of Ooo can afford to ignore. It is this continuity that gives her compassion such weight. Marceline knows that joy and sorrow are never separate. She can feel the laughter of 1,000 years ago as clearly as the tears of yesterday. And because she remembers, she does not turn away from grief. The shadow archetype teaches that healing does not come from avoidance, but from tenderness toward what hurts. Marceline embodies that lesson. She welcomes sorrow like an old friend, sits with it, and listens. Her strength is not the strength of a warrior's blade. It is the stillness that endures, the quiet endurance that transforms loss into wisdom. When she connects with others, she becomes a mirror. To Finn, she shows the inevitability of change, the truth that even heroes must one day grow beyond their quests. To Bubblegum, she reflects the emotional complexity behind intellect, reminding her that logic alone cannot mend a heart. And to the audience, Marceline offers permission to feel deeply. Her vulnerability, her music, her melancholy, all become an invitation to rest within the fullness of being human. In her story, darkness is not an enemy to be vanquished, but a place to learn compassion. Even her vampirism, which could have been a symbol of predation, becomes something gentler in the myth of Ooo. It is not hunger for blood that defines her, but hunger for connection. The way she feeds from red is poetic. It symbolizes her need for color, warmth, and emotion. Red in her world is the hue of life itself, the color of heart and fire. Through that small act, she reclaims the ancient imagery of the vampire, transforming it from a creature of consumption into a figure of remembrance. She does not drain life. She preserves its essence. Marceline's home, too, is an extension of her archetype. It is both sanctuary and museum, a collection of memories scattered across the walls, a landscape of mementos that carry meaning long after their owners are gone. Each keepsake hums softly with the energy of the past, as though the objects themselves remember. When she strums her bass beneath the dim light, surrounded by relics of forgotten eras, it feels as if the world pauses to listen. The air becomes thicker, quieter. It is in these moments that Ooo feels most ancient, most sacred, a reminder that even in a world of color and laughter, time's shadow still breathes gently through every leaf, every song, every heartbeat. The shadow archetype also reminds us that introspection is a kind of bravery. Marceline's power is not in fighting, but in facing. The willingness to sit with fear, to acknowledge guilt, to forgive herself. When she looks back on her past, she does so without denial. She accepts her flaws, her mistakes, her moments of pain. In mythology, such acceptance marks the completion of a journey inward. She becomes whole not by erasing the darkness, but by weaving it into the fabric of her identity. Through her, we learn that self-knowledge is not found in perfection, but in honesty. In the great tapestry of Oo's mythos, Marceline acts as the undercurrent, flowing unseen but ever-present, where Finn represents courage and action, and Bubblegum intellect and structure. Marceline represents the inner landscape of emotion. She reminds the others and us that every act of creation, every adventure, every laughter-filled day is sustained by the quiet acceptance of impermanence. Without her, the myth of Ooo would lose its grounding, its ache, its heart. When she performs alongside others, singing, laughing, or simply existing, the atmosphere softens. Even the most chaotic moments gain a strange serenity. It's as though her presence alters time itself, slowing the rhythm of the world so that we can feel each moment more deeply. In that slowing, there's understanding. In that silence, there's peace. This is the gift of the shadow, to remind us that reflection is just as sacred as motion, that stillness is another kind of grace. As night deepens over the Land of Ooo, Marceline's shadow stretches far and wide, touching every corner of its dreamlike geography. The deserts, the candy forests, the crystal mountains, all seem to shimmer differently when seen through her eyes. She turns every landscape into a memory, every silence into a song. And in that transformation, we glimpse something timeless. The shadow, we realize, is not a curse upon the world. It is the soul of the world, the keeper of all that light alone cannot hold. As the night settles fully into Ooo, and the glow of the stars spills softly across the quiet lands, Marceline's presence begins to feel like the breath of the world itself. Her music echoes through unseen spaces, drifting across forests and rivers, touching even the sleeping mountains. There is something eternal in her melody, as if the universe hums along, remembering with her. The shadow archetype reaches its purest form here, not as darkness, but as harmony. It is the meeting point where sorrow and peace become indistinguishable, where the ache of what's gone and the comfort of what remains hold hands in silence. Marceline's strength lies in her acceptance of transience. She does not try to cling to permanence, because she knows nothing truly lasts, not even stars. Instead, she finds beauty in impermanence, in the way everything changes, fades, and transforms. The crumbling cities she once wandered have become candy kingdoms and lava nations, yet she carries their memory like a lantern. In mythic terms, she is the keeper of cycles, ensuring that every ending is remembered as part of the whole. Through her, the world of Ooo acknowledges that decay is not the opposite of creation, it is part of it. The universe breathes in and out, and Marceline listens to that rhythm with reverence. This awareness gives her a quiet wisdom. She has seen power rise and fall, witnessed heroes become legends, and legends turn into dust. But unlike those who strive to preserve their glory, Marceline has no desire to be remembered as a ruler or savior. She exists within the flow of things, content to be a song carried on the wind. Her humility is profound, almost divine in its simplicity. The shadow teaches that what endures is not the monument, but the feeling, and Marceline, through her songs and her presence, ensures that feeling, love, longing, joy, sorrow, continues to ripple across time. When we watch her with Finn or Bubblegum, we sense that she understands them in ways they cannot yet understand themselves. Finn is still learning to face impermanence. Bubblegum is still learning to let go of control. Marceline, having lived so long, has walked both paths. She has loved, lost, and learned that the only constant is change. In this way, she becomes not a mentor, but a gentle reminder, a living embodiment of balance. Her friendship teaches without demand, heals without speech. She shows that sometimes presence alone can be enough to guide another toward truth. And then, there are moments when Marceline allows herself to simply be. When she leans back, eyes half closed, floating above her bed with her bass in hand, humming softly to no one in particular. Those are the moments when her myth dissolves into something deeply human. The shadow archetype, often misunderstood as darkness or fear, reveals itself as tenderness. It is the part of us that understands the fragility of life, that aches and still chooses to love anyway. Marceline's stillness, her gentle solitude, becomes a mirror for our own quiet nights, the times when we too sit with memory and let it rest beside us instead of running away. In a symbolic sense, Marceline bridges life and death, memory and oblivion, light and dark. She stands in the liminal space where all opposites meet, where boundaries blur into understanding. Myths often need such figures, those who live between worlds, to remind us that existence itself is not dual but circular. Through Marceline, we see that shadow is not absence but presence, that it holds the light within it in softer form. This truth hums throughout Adventure Time's storytelling, that every laugh, every tear, every song belongs to the same great whole. When the show ends, Marceline remains, her music continuing into the silence. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of rest, the same kind that follows a long day's story told by firelight. In that moment, she becomes the lullaby of Ooo, the gentle hum beneath the dreams of all its creatures. The world she inhabits no longer feels post-apocalyptic or absurd. It feels timeless, suspended between memory and tomorrow, and Marceline, the shadow, is its heartbeat. If the creator represents the act of shaping the world and the hero the act of saving it, then the shadow represents the act of remembering it. Through Marceline, the myth of Ooo becomes self-aware. It learns to reflect on its own history, to honor both the brightness and the darkness that birthed it. In her, all of Oo's contradictions reconcile: science and magic, love and loneliness, joy and melancholy. She is the thread that binds them together in quiet understanding. And maybe that is why she feels so real to us, even beyond the dream. Because we all carry a little of her inside, the part that hums softly in the dark, that keeps the memories alive, that forgives, that lets go, that finds beauty in the ache of being alive. Marceline shows that every heart contains a shadow, and every shadow, when understood, becomes light. So as we let this part of the story settle in our minds, let's imagine her voice one more time, low, gentle, echoing through the stillness. The night of Ooo feels endless, but in her song, it feels safe. The world rests, the moon glows, and somewhere out there, the Vampire Queen hums beneath the stars. Not as a warning, not as a sorrow, but as a promise that everything we lose finds its way back through the song of the heart. If you've made it this far into the myth of Ooo, you've walked through the worlds of heroes, tricksters, creators, and shadows. You've seen how each of them breathes life into this strange, beautiful land. But tonight, we're going deeper, into the place where all of the forces meet. This is Archetypes in Harmony, the mythic, Tapestry of Ooo. It's where every story, every melody, every act of courage or chaos or compassion begins to weave together into something greater, something that feels less like a cartoon and more like a living myth. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's step into the rhythm that binds the dream together. When you look closely at the world of Ooo, it becomes clear that no single character defines it. Finn's courage alone could never sustain it, nor could Bubblegum's intellect, Jake's humor, or Marceline's introspection. What makes Ooo eternal is how each of them completes what the others lack. Together, they form a cycle, a moving harmony of archetypes that reflect the totality of the human experience. It's like a symphony where each instrument plays its own melody, but only when all four come together does the full song emerge. Finn is motion, the hero's call to adventure, the restless spirit that pushes life forward. Jake is rhythm, the trickster's laughter that keeps the world from collapsing under its own seriousness. Bubblegum is structure, the creator's mind shaping chaos into coherence, and Marceline is tone, the shadow's resonance that gives everything depth and emotion. When you combine these four, you don't just get balance, you get story itself. The world of Ooo becomes a breathing being, alive because each part supports and transforms the others. In mythology, this kind of balance is sacred. Every civilization has a version of it. The four elements, the four directions, the four stages of life. Adventure Time doesn't preach this idea directly, but it hums underneath every episode. When Finn charges into danger, Jake brings levity. When Bubblegum overthinks, Marceline reminds her to feel. When the world teeters toward destruction, their friendship restores it. Not through grand magic, but through understanding. Ooo survives not because of strength or science, but because its archetypes learn to exist in harmony. This harmony is fragile, though, and that's what makes it beautiful. There are moments when the balance breaks, when the hero loses faith, when the creator becomes too controlling, when the trickster avoids pain, when the shadow retreats too deeply into memory. These disruptions give Ooo its pulse. They're not flaws, they're the heartbeat of evolution. Each time the balance tips, the characters grow. They adapt, learn, and reweave their relationships into something stronger. The myth of Ooo, like any living myth, is built on constant motion between chaos and order, laughter and sorrow, light and dark. Imagine it like a great cosmic loom. Finn's bravery threads through its center, glowing with wild energy. Jake's playfulness loops and twists, keeping the pattern from tightening too much. Bubblegum's logic anchors the edges, giving shape to the design. And Marceline's emotion flows like ink between them, dark but shimmering. As the loom turns, their stories intertwine, creating the tapestry of Ooo. Sometimes it frays, sometimes it glows. But no matter how the threads shift, the song remains whole. One of the most beautiful things about this mythic harmony is that it reflects us. Each of these archetypes lives inside the human psyche. We are all, in some way, the hero striving for purpose, the trickster laughing in the face of fear, the creator trying to make sense of chaos, and the shadow holding the memory of everything we've lost. Ooo externalizes these forces, turning them into characters so we can see them, understand them, and maybe even learn to live with them more gently. In this sense, the Land of Ooo isn't just a post-apocalyptic fantasy, it's a mirror. The ruins, the magic, the laughter, and the melancholy all represent aspects of what it means to be human. When these characters come together, we see not just friendship, but the reconciliation of the self. The hero learns from the shadow. The creator learns from the trickster. The trickster finds grounding in the hero, and the shadow finds healing in the creator's light. Every relationship becomes a dialogue between archetypes, a reminder that wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means coexistence. The deeper we look, the clearer it becomes that Adventure Time isn't telling a single story. It's telling all stories at once. Its dreamlike structure, its surreal humor, its moments of aching silence, all of it reflects how myth and memory blend in the human mind. It's a world where symbols talk to each other, where meaning grows in circles instead of lines. And in that circular motion, every episode becomes part of the same infinite myth, the myth of balance, the myth of renewal, the myth of Ooo itself. In that way, Oo's mythology works almost like a dream that keeps reinterpreting itself. Each season feels like a new breath in the same sleeping body. The characters grow older, their struggles evolve, but the core of the dream remains unchanged. A longing for harmony between what we build, what we destroy, what we laugh about, and what we mourn. That longing is what makes Adventure Time feel timeless, because it's the same longing that beats quietly in all of us. As the tapestry of Ooo continues to turn, we begin to sense that each archetype is not only part of the whole, but also a reflection of the others. Finn, for instance, begins his journey as pure heroic energy, driven by action, guided by instinct, radiant in his belief that good can triumph through courage. But as his path unfolds, he absorbs something from everyone around him. From Jake, he learns to laugh at fate and loosen his grip on control. From Bubblegum, he learns the importance of thought and creation, the art of shaping a dream into something lasting. From Marceline, he learns the quiet power of vulnerability. The hero of Ooo is not static. He is porous, ever-shifting, becoming more complete by allowing the other archetypes to live within him. In turn, Jake, the Trickster, also evolves through this symbiosis. His humor, once carefree and detached, begins to take on a deeper purpose. His jokes become a bridge across pain. His laziness, a lesson in surrender when the hero's heart grows too heavy. The Trickster's laughter becomes a kind of glue, keeping the dream from cracking under its own weight. He learns through the hero's struggle and the creator's discipline that even chaos has a role to play in balance. Jake is the breath between moments of tension, the reminder that not everything needs to be fought or fixed. Some things just need to be lived through. Princess Bubblegum, the creator, undergoes perhaps the most delicate transformation. At first, she embodies control, intellect, and order. Her mind a fortress built against the uncertainty of a world that once ended. Yet through her connection with Finn and Marceline, she begins to accept the beauty of imperfection. She learns that creation is not about perfection, but renewal. Her scientific precision softens into compassion. Her leadership becomes less about rule and more about care. The creator's light, once harsh and absolute, begins to glow with warmth. In mythic terms, she evolves from the detached goddess into the living mother, one who understands that to create is also to let go. And then there is Marceline, the shadow whose song runs through the heart of all things. She begins as memory made flesh, the echo of the old world. Her darkness is not evil, but ancestral. She carries grief, decay, and forgotten love. Through her interactions with Finn, Bubblegum, and Jake, she learns that her pain can coexist with joy. The shadow, instead of being something hidden, becomes the connective tissue of the myth. She is what binds the dream to its origins. Without her, the myth would lose its depth. It would float away, ungrounded. The shadow gives the story its soul. In Jungian terms, these characters represent the four primary psychic functions: feeling, thinking, intuition, and sensation. Finn, the hero, is sensation, rooted in experience, in direct engagement with the world. Jake, the Trickster, is intuition. Fluid, unpredictable, always finding connections where logic sees none. Bubblegum, the creator, is thinking. Rationality, structure, and order. Marceline the shadow is feeling. Emotional truth, memory, and depth. Together they form the wholeness of psyche, the complete circle of being. Ooo becomes the mind's landscape, a mythological dream that externalizes the process of individuation, the slow weaving together of all aspects of self into harmony. When you look at it this way, every adventure, every quiet moment of reflection, becomes symbolic of an inner journey. The Candy Kingdom might represent the structured, conscious mind, orderly, bright, yet fragile. The Nightosphere becomes the unconscious, wild, and primal. The Ice Kingdom stands for frozen memory, the past, preserved but unreachable. The Fire Kingdom burns with passion and creativity. The Land of Ooo isn't a physical map at all, it's a psychic one, a dream of how all the parts of existence communicate. And when Finn, Jake, Bubblegum, and Marceline come together, whether in laughter, conflict, or silence, they recreate the dance of the self-seeking balance. It's not about who is right or wrong, or which element dominates. It's about the interplay. Just as light only exists because shadow defines it, the creator's world only thrives when the trickster and the hero disrupt it, and the shadow heals it. It's a living allegory for growth. There are moments in the series that capture this balance in its most delicate form. Think of Finn's dreamlike journeys through his subconscious, where he meets strange versions of himself, echoes of the hero's evolution. Or Bubblegum, standing beside Marceline as the night fades into morning, the creator and the shadow finally finding peace after centuries of distance. Or Jake floating through the cosmic seas of Prismo's realm, laughing even as the universe bends around him. Each of these moments is not just a plot point. It's a mythic chord struck perfectly in tune with the others. Oo's mythology reminds us that wholeness doesn't mean harmony all the time. It means dissonance, too. It means learning from friction, from difference, from the spaces where the archetypes rub against each other. That friction is what generates story. Without the hero's restlessness, the trickster's mischief, the creator's order, or the shadow's emotion, there would be no movement, no change. And without change, there would be no Ooo. The world would fall silent, like a song with no variation. That is why Adventure Time endures as a mythic dream. Because even when the show ended, the archetypes didn't. They live on in every person who's ever felt torn between courage and doubt, reason and feeling, light and shadow. Ooo, in its dreamlike beauty, holds a mirror to those inner harmonies and fractures, reminding us that being human means being many things at once. There's a stillness in Ooo that often goes unnoticed, a kind of gentle rhythm beneath the chaos and color. It's in the quiet hum between episodes, in the soft sigh of the trees, in the way light moves across the grass of the Candy Kingdom at dusk. That stillness is the harmony of the archetypes at rest, when creation and destruction, laughter and sorrow have found their momentary peace. The world itself seems to breathe in sync with them, as if Ooo is aware of its own balance, aware that its mythic soul depends not on conquest or dominance, but on understanding. Each archetype has learned something through their long intertwining paths. Finn, the eternal hero who once saw the world as a stage for adventure, now understands that heroism isn't about slaying monsters, but tending to the small, fragile things. Friendship, forgiveness, the ability to let go. His courage has matured into gentleness. He still charges into danger when needed, but now he carries a kind of calm wisdom, the knowledge that some battles are won simply by refusing to let the heart harden. Jake, the trickster, once content to stretch through life without much care, now carries the lightness of true balance. His laughter remains, but it's not careless anymore. It's knowing. It's the laughter of someone who has seen pain and chosen joy anyway. He moves between worlds, the cosmic and the ordinary, the serious and the silly, teaching that flexibility is not avoidance, but adaptability. His essence reminds us that the universe is not meant to be mastered, but danced with. Princess Bubblegum, the creator, has also found a softer truth. Her kingdom may still glitter with candy and order, but she no longer hides behind the walls of perfection. She's learned that creation needs chaos to stay alive, that even the most logical mind must leave room for mystery. The world she builds now feels less like a monument and more like a garden, something that grows, changes, and sometimes withers. Her love for Marceline, once hidden beneath centuries of denial, becomes her greatest act of creation, a reconciliation between reason and emotion, intellect and heart. And Marceline, the shadow, who once defined herself by loss, finally begins to sing in harmony with the living world. Her song, still tinged with melancholy, now carry a light that comes from understanding. She no longer clings to the pain of what was. She embraces the beauty of what remains. Her shadow doesn't consume. It shades, gives depth, and softens the light so it can be seen more clearly. In her, the myth finds its resolution. The acceptance that darkness isn't something to be defeated, but something to be embraced as part of the whole. When all these lessons intertwine, the Land of Ooo feels like a reflection of a single human soul reaching toward balance. Every kingdom, every ruin, every cosmic being becomes an aspect of that journey. The Ice King's loneliness is the echo of memory. The Fire Kingdom's heat is the pulse of creativity. The Candy Kingdom's fragile order is the intellect's attempt to make sense of chaos. The Nightosphere's wildness is the subconscious, roaring with unfiltered feeling. All of them live within the same psyche, coexisting in tension, yet always reaching for harmony. This is why the world of Ooo feels alive even after the story ends. It's not just a fictional setting. It's a symbolic landscape that mirrors the process of self-discovery. In dreams, we meet versions of ourselves in strange forms, sometimes kind, sometimes terrifying. Ooo operates in that same dreamlike logic, where laughter sits beside sorrow and monsters hold wisdom. Every creature, every moment of absurdity is part of a larger emotional truth. That's why the show can move from cosmic absurdity to raw human tenderness in a single breath. It's all one dream, one myth, one reflection of what it means to be conscious. When you close your eyes and think of Ooo, what you might feel most vividly isn't any single character or episode, but the harmony that connects them. The bright candy colors fade into the distant hum of Marceline's bass. Finn's laughter echoes from some forgotten treehouse. Jake's words of wisdom ripple through the stars, and Bubblegum's soft pink glow illuminates the horizon. Each one becomes part of a single melody, an eternal lullaby for a world that keeps remaking itself. And maybe that's the truest meaning of this mythic tapestry. That balance is not a fixed state, but a song that must be played again and again. Sometimes it trembles with dissonance, sometimes it swells with unity, but it always continues. The archetypes of Ooo remind us that every story, no matter how fantastical, is a reflection of the inner world we carry. They remind us that laughter can heal, logic can protect, courage can transform, and shadow can guide. At its heart, Adventure Time was never just about adventure. It was about integration. It was about learning to live with all the pieces of ourselves, to see that even the strange, broken, or forgotten parts have their place in the whole. Ooo is the dream of balance, of learning to sing along with our contradictions instead of silencing them. And maybe that's why, even years after its ending, the world still feels so present, because it continues to echo within us, whispering softly that harmony isn't something we find, it's something we keep creating. As the dream of Ooo stretches into the quiet night, we can begin to see the full shape of its mythic tapestry. The archetypes are no longer separate threads. They have intertwined so completely that their individual melodies become inseparable from the whole. Finn's courage pulses alongside Jake's laughter. Bubblegum's intellect harmonizes with Marceline's shadow, and the world itself seems to hum with the rhythm of their collective presence. The land breathes in tandem with them, every leaf, river, and crystalline structure resonating with the gentle pulse of archetypal energy. This harmony, delicate and living, is not static. It evolves with every choice the characters make, every lesson they learn, every moment of growth. Finn, ever the hero, sometimes stumbles, but in those moments, Jake's intuition and humor guide him. Bubblegum, whose mind can be rigid, softens in the presence of the shadow's wisdom. Marceline, who carries centuries of memory, learns that connection can still bring joy and not just grief. Each archetype's evolution supports the others, creating a feedback loop of growth that is subtle yet profound, like the gentle push and pull of tides. Ooo itself reflects this interwoven mythos. Its geography is alive with symbols. The Ice Kingdom reminds us of what is frozen in time. The Fire Kingdom pulses with the creative energy. The Candy Kingdom demonstrates the delicate structures we try to maintain in life, and the Nightosphere whispers the chaotic unknown that exists beneath the surface. Every region is shaped not just by its residents, but by the emotional resonance of the archetypes that inhabit it. It is a dreamscape made tangible, where each hill, river, and ruin carries a story, a memory, and a lesson. When Finn charges into adventure, we feel the heartbeat of courage and hope. When Jake stretches into impossible shapes, we sense the elasticity of life and perspective. When Bubblegum constructs her inventions or ponders ethical dilemmas, we glimpse the power of intellect tempered by care. And when Marceline strums her bass beneath the moonlight, we touch the depths of memory, grief, and longing that give all of Ooo its emotional depth. Together, their interactions form a living symphony, one that transcends episodic plots and becomes something eternal. There are moments when these threads converge perfectly. A night by the campfire, a shared song, a quiet conversation, a heroic deed, performed not for glory, but for love or duty. In these moments, the myth of Ooo feels less like a story and more like a meditation, a reflection of how all parts of the self, all archetypal energies, coexist. The hero, the trickster, the creator, and the shadow are not just characters in a narrative. They are aspects of consciousness, interdependent and inseparable, reminding us that life is a balance of action, reflection, creation, and acceptance. And this is the gift of the archetypes in harmony. They do not resolve all conflict or eliminate pain. Instead, they teach coexistence, integration, and resonance. Ooo is never a perfect world, and neither are its inhabitants. But in their interdependence, we witness a kind of perfection that comes from wholeness rather than control. Chaos and order, joy and sorrow, light and shadow, intellect and emotion. They all find their place in the tapestry, and the world thrives because of it. The beauty of this mythic convergence is that it mirrors our own inner lives. Every human contains elements of the hero, the trickster, the creator, and the shadow. There are times when courage leads us forward, humor helps us endure, intellect guides us, and shadow teaches us to feel deeply. Adventure time externalizes these inner forces, giving them form, color, and voice. Watching the characters move through Ooo is like walking through a dream of the psyche where each lesson is both personal and universal. As night falls across the Land of Ooo, we can almost feel the world exhale. The laughter of Jake and the courage of Finn, the mind of Bubblegum, and the song of Marceline combine into a single, quiet resonance. Stars shimmer overhead, reflecting the eternal dance of archetypes, each one a note in the infinite song of the dream. Time seems to slow, and the world feels suspended in gentle equilibrium, balanced by the interplay of creation, adventure, chaos, and memory. And so, as we drift alongside these archetypes, we understand that Ooo is not just a place on a map or a series of episodes. It is a myth, a dream, and a mirror of the self. Its stories linger because they speak to something eternal, the quest for balance, the acceptance of light and dark, the recognition that each element, however contradictory, is necessary for the whole. In the end, the hero, the trickster, the creator, and the shadow are not simply characters we watch. They are guides through the quiet labyrinth of our own consciousness. The tapestry of Ooo stretches endlessly, threads of courage, laughter, intellect, and shadow weaving a pattern that never truly ends. And in that pattern, we can rest, we can breathe, we can remember that every adventure, every quiet act, every song of memory and joy is part of a greater harmony. Let your mind wander through that tapestry. Let it trace the lines of Finn's bravery, Jake's playfulness, Bubblegum's wisdom, and Marceline's depth. Feel the resonance, the subtle balance, the eternal dance of archetypes in harmony. Good night.